mathematical practice was using appropriate tools strategically. And the definition of this is mathematically proficient students consider the available tools in solving a mathematical problem. These tools might include pencil and paper, concrete models, a ruler, a protractor, a calculator, a spreadsheet, a computer algebra system, a statistical package, or a dynamic geometry software. Proficient students are sufficiently familiar with tools appropriate for their grade or course to make sound decisions about when each of these tools might be helpful, recognizing both the insight to be gained and their limitations. For example, mathematically proficient high school students analyze graphs of functions and solutions generated using a graphing calculator. They detect possible errors by strategically using estimation and other mathematical knowledge. When making mathematical models, they know that technology can enable them to visualize the results of varying assumptions, explore consequences, and compare predictions with data. Mathematically proficient students are at various grade levels are able to identify relevant external mathematical resources such as digital content located on a website and use them to pose or solve problems. They are able to use technological tools to explore and deepen their understanding of concepts. So this was our example for a lower level example problem, and for the students they were supposed to show the number 799 in expanded form. The students understand that the big blocks are in blocks of 100, the sticks count for 10, and then the little cubes count for just 1. And then they were able to solve the problem that way. The explanation is proficient students will use their prior knowledge of what they were taught in order to solve this problem. The students would realize the base 10 blocks are the most appropriate tools for the problem because they know that expanded form is breaking the number down into place value, and base 10 blocks are used for the same thing. And then this is the upper level problem, and for the students they were supposed to graph these numbers into a graphing calculator, and these are just a few of the steps. They knew which buttons to push, when to put the numbers in, and all of that. And the explanation for that is proficient students will use their prior knowledge in order to solve this problem. The students would know that there are 2 ways to graph points, a graphing calculator or graphing on a piece of paper. If they choose to use a graphing calculator, they would need to know the correct steps in order to graph the points correctly. Either tool the students choose would be appropriate to strategically solve this problem. And then integration and connection to a concept. We did our last one, which was MP3, construct viable arguments and critique the reasoning of others. These 2 concepts can be connected when the student creates an argument to explain why they chose the tool that they chose. The students can also critique the reasoning of other students if they believe that there was another appropriate tool to use to solve the problem correctly. And then MP5 can also be connected to open-ended questions because the students are not being told specifically which tool to use. They have to be familiar enough with the tools to make the decision on their own. And then for the SIOP model, the first one, lesson preparation, it's to inform students of lesson objective and provide problems at the student's level. So through our lesson, the problems that were selected were appropriate for the grade level of the students. Second one, building background, working with various factors including numbers and mathematical operations and key vocabulary. The students were able to recognize key words in the problems that let them know which tool is most appropriate to solve the problem. Third one, comprehensible input, grouping similarities as well as recognizing and understanding symbols along with their meanings and number representations. The younger students were able to understand what numbers the 10 blocks represent. The older students recognize what a coordinate point is and the way it is represented on a graph. The fourth one, strategies, using problem-solving skills and operations to find the answer. The older students were able to recognize what operations the calculator they need to use and when to plug in the numbers. The fifth one is interaction, providing students with examples including the use of math manipulatives and visual representations. So the teacher provides the students with the initial example of when and how the base 10 blocks in calculator are used. Sixth one, practice and application. The students have to work through real-life problems in order to build understanding. And for our problems, the students are able to incorporate what they have learned in order to solve the problem independently or with a group. Lesson delivery, showing examples and giving clear objectives and scaffolding difficulty of problems. So for ours, clear objectives of what is expected were given to the students, and examples were given before the students are expected to solve the problems on their own. And then the last one, review and assessment, have students lead in showing what they have learned through explanation and working through problems, later assessing as a whole group. So the students, when they are asked how they come up with their answers, they explain how they solved the problem and why they chose to use the tool that they did.